Hello and welcome to Stephen University. This week we are discussing an episode titled Joyride. Chris, as always, what's it about?
This is Stephen Universe's puberty episode. So in it, they're clearing up the gem shit, and the cool kids come along and they're like, "Stephen, come hang out with us." And he's like, "Nah, I got some gem stuff to do." And they're like, "Okay, never mind." And then the logical thing to do is wait until night time, throw pizza at his window, and then be like, "Come out." And this time he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll come out." They discuss their parents.
I'm not being funny, Chris, but how would you have done it?
Well, I mean, I'd have thrown pasta. And then they go and they find the Paradox escape pod, and Stephen goes for like a joyride in it, and they take loads of selfies. It's got some brilliant jokes in it. Like there's a point where he goes, "Yeah, a dozen. No, do some donuts. A dozen. A baker's dozen." And it's so funny, like, because it's just like, yeah, donuts, baker. It's so clever.
My favourite joke in this episode, which you're right, it's one of the funniest episodes. My favourite one is when he's like, "I should go back," and he's like, "Aren't you your own mum?"
Yeah.
Brilliant joke.
Another great one.
He can do whatever he wants. He's his own mum.
And then they do the donuts. The gems appear. They're about to blow up the escape pod, thinking Paradox inside. The kids are like, "No, Steven's inside." They start yelling at him, and they're like, "Give him a break. He's just a kid." And they're like, "Oh yeah, I suppose he is." And it's this weird series. It is this weird series 2 puberty teenage style storyline of a kid joyriding and then getting told off. Then they unban him from TV, wrapping up that plot, and then the episode airs. Really enjoyed it, thought it was really funny. In the back of my head, felt bad for Lars the entire time. Because all he wants to do is hang out with these people, and they just prefer Stephen. So that was a weird thing going on in my brain. But yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point. I don't really think about Lars not being included.
Yeah, no, but I literally was thinking that the entire time. I was feeling really oddly bad for Lars, just like, oh.
Yeah. If you watch these episodes in the original order, there's an episode between the last one and this one.
That's ridiculous.
This is, I'm glad you said that, because legitimately, what are they thinking? What were they thinking?
What would it have been then? Story for Stephen?
One of them, either Story for Stephen or a Shirt Club.
Nuts.
Right?
I do like that Shirt Club adds a kind of context to this, because without Shirt Club, you are a bit like, why are these guys suddenly so determined to hang out with Stephen? But when you've seen Shirt Club, so I hope it was Shirt Club between them, because when you've seen Shirt Club, it's like, oh, they formed a bit of a bond there. That's probably why, or probably part of it. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which one it was, but because no one wants anyone to watch the episodes in that order, it's actually really hard now to find the episodes listed how they originally aired. Because any website you go to, it's like, don't do that. So it's all the opposite.
Well, maybe like on Amazon Instant, did they release them as DVDs that way, or did they fix that?
That's what I'm trying to find out now. I'm just looking. Where are we? Oh, it's all a bit confused. Yeah, here we go. So, open book, which is where Connie's upset because Stephen reads the ending of her favourite book before he reads the rest of it, and they go into Rose's room to read. Oh no, she doesn't like the ending of that book, and she goes to recreate it. That episode aired between Full Disclosure and Joyride.
Oh wow! So you don't even get so Shirt Club aired after this.
Yep. Much later.
That is an awful way of doing it.
Dreadful. Yeah. In fact, Shirt Club airs... Yeah, in a couple episodes' time if you're doing it by the original route. So, open book going here. Do you see what I mean? Because what's great about this episode is it's still dealing with the initial... With the repercussions of jailbreak. They're cleaning up the beach, right? And it's straight after... Imagine going from the episode where you see all the stuff on the beach and Stephen and Connie dealing with their stuff to then randomly watching open book where Stephen and Connie go into Rose's room and like dick about for an episode, for lack of a better phrase. And then the next episode, the shit on the beach again, and it's all dealing with that. And it's like, wait a second, that's how I watched this originally. So
yeah, that's really bad.
Not great. So yeah, it's a shame that it had to play out that way. The way watching it this way is so much more satisfying. The beach is still covered in shit.
Yeah, definitely.
And all that stuff. So that part of the conversation out of the way. Let's talk more about the episode itself.
Can I say, before I forget about it, one of my other favourite jokes was at the end where it's like, let him be a DJ.
Yeah.
Just linking it back to his own problem.
Yeah, because his dad wants him to be a sailor. Did you get that reference, by the way?
Good.
Did you pick up on?
I got it because he'd said earlier about his dad wanting him to be a fisherman. But no, I couldn't quite work out if I already knew that or who his dad definitely was. I couldn't pick that up.
Okay. Did you not gather from when he impersonated his dad? Because this is when I worked it out.
No, again, I knew I should recognise it, but no. So who is his dad?
Well, I mean, it's...
Oh, is it Onion's dad?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's onion and sour cream.
Yeah, sour cream and onion, yeah. I mean, he does refer to him as his stepdad, suggesting they have a different mum, but basically onion and sour cream are stepbrothers. And this is the episode I finally went, oh, that makes so much sense.
Why is onion not called chive then?
Yes, sour cream, I don't know, yeah. I really love that connection. I love that those two, like, and it's not referenced, and it's clearly been set up since the beginning. And this is the episode that sort of like really puts a big sort of flag on it, because he impersonates his dad. And whenever we've heard Onion or Sour Cream's dad talk, he's he talks like that, and he impersonates it in this episode. And that's when I finally put it together that those two are related, which I would have never guessed otherwise.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great? I love that about this show. This is what I mean about, like, every time you think you know what's going on, like, they just drop some information. You go, oh, that's been connected this whole time.
So Peridot's just out there running around as well. Like, that's a thing.
Yeah, confirmed that this week.
So presumably she's stuck on Earth, which is gonna piss her off, and that makes that very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's on an Earth that's clearly covered in old gem tech. We know the old kindergarten's out there. We know the old warp pads are out there, not working. She's clearly not got any of her robots with her, so how much power she's going to have to fix or interact with any of this technology is a bit hard to say. But she is clearly the techier member of that team that came to Earth. You know, the Jasper, Lapis, Peridot sort of combat. She was the one interfacing with all the technology. She was the one controlling the ship from her, pad. She's clearly a very tech-based sort of gem. So what can she do on this planet full of old gem tech? It's yet to be seen, but it's certainly an interesting prospect.
Yeah, that is cool.
Because that was one of those things where, like, we saw her head towards Earth, but we didn't necessarily know for sure that's where she landed. But now we know for sure.
So given the two, obviously, to take what you know out of the equation, given the two scenarios, you either have her just attack them just with nothing because she's that angry, or you have her find some old gem tech and then attack them. Which are you preferring?
Forgetting what I know where it goes, I like the idea of her trying to get the old gem tech and turning that.
Yeah, I think that's the more interesting, better story, isn't it?
Yeah. Although, again, a villain that's sort of like on the back foot, like, suddenly forced to fight without their technology, like it's a more interesting story. But I find that when you do that story with villains, it just takes the threat away. So look at this is a weird pull, but Iron Man 3, they take away his suits midway through the movie, right? He doesn't have access to them. He has one and it's broken. So it puts him in a vulnerable position because the hero suddenly doesn't have the power he relies on so thoroughly. But if you do that to the villain, then they're just less of a threat. So if you put Peridot, who's a techie-based gem, in a situation where she has to go without her tech, there's no tension there because you're just like, oh, good. Well, that makes it easier for the gems to beat her then. So I think in this situation, the more interesting scenario is for her to be powerful in some way, but different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's how I
think. And then you can let it build and stuff as well. But then I keep saying that, like, I keep being like, expecting them to just go to a random other story. And I know we're only 2 episodes in, but we've not had that yet. You know, they are still dealing quite genuinely with the fallout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's really I think that's kind of indicative of the creators of the show going, no, we would have to bend over backwards to explain why they were ignoring what just happened. You know,
yeah,
serious shit happened. We need to address it. We would be conning you all if we did anything else with this.
It wouldn't really be in the spirit of things, would it?
Exactly. So I think they've managed to keep that going. Also, by the way, in terms of great lines in this episode, only want to see you laughing in the pizza rain. I mean,
yeah. Oh god. Yeah. He's like, is that a reference to something? I was like, oh my god, there's a Prince joke in Steven Universe. Like, so cool.
No kids are getting that, but I don't even care. Yeah.
So cool.
Great. So what do we think then on the whole of the episode? I mean, I find that the episodes where we get the cool kids, Jenny, Buck, and Sour Cream, they're always the funniest episodes. Their whole shtick is just really amusing to me. They always get lots of really good jokes out of it.
Well, it goes. I've talked before about how sometimes on this show, what amazes me is that the style of humour is close to New Girl. That kind of really sharp dialogue where it's like, it's not even like obvious jokes. Like, it's just it's so hard to define. I think for all its whatever, I think New Girl should be praised for its distinctive voice and style of humour, which I think led to a lot of shows that are airing now that derive comedy from that sort of dialogue, where it's not typical like Friends, like, here's a joke. It's more like, here's a way we talk which is funny, but it's our language, but it is also funny. But you still see it as their language, and these characters have that. Mm-hmm. It's things like the mayor's son thing and stuff like that, where he's like, and I'm like, you can't talk to me like that because I'm the mayor's son. Like, it's just, that's not the best example of it. I think the Purple Rain thing is a better example. Mm-hmm. That's why you should hang with us, because it's that different perspective that you bring to the group. Like, stuff like that. It's just so funny. And yeah, I think that their dialogue is perhaps
another great example of that from this episode is when she's asking if they want to take selfies with the thing, and she goes, Buck, and he's like, nah, I just like to experience the moment for what it is sometimes. Plus, the lighting is weird.
Yeah, that's
great.
in a way you get I think the reason these episodes feel funnier is because that humour is closer linked to our humour. So, for example, that moment is immediately followed by, Stephen, get in the selfie. No, I don't want to. I've got stickers. That's a joke. That's a traditional joke. Like, the fact that it's the stickers that change his mind. But that, no, I feel like just taking in the moment, and plus the lighting is weird. That's more of a quirky, just interesting dialogue-based joke. It's a weird thing, and I'm not explaining it well.
No, I think the sense of humor that the cool kids bring to the table is different to the traditional humor this show does, and I can't decide if that's just a sense of humor me and you appreciate more, or if it's just nice sometimes to get a different style of humor in a show where you're used to a certain kind of joke. I don't know which it is, but either way it works, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary, yeah.
What do we think then because obviously there's a great moment in the middle of this episode where they're all listing off their problems, which are all quite thin compared to what Steven's going through. And then he literally hits them with, found out all the gems are alien rebels, and there are other alien gems out there that want us dead because they think we're traitors, and they tried to take me hostage because they think I'm my mom, and maybe I kind of am. I wish I could talk to Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl about it, but I think they kind of blame me for my mom not being around. Now, there's a great joke there, because then there's a big pause where everyone doesn't know what to say to any of that.
Well, she turns the music off to show how heavy it is.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think there's also a lot of really important character development in that moment. I mean, he lays out how he sees the situation, but then it's this bit at the end. I wish I could talk to Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl about it, but I think they kind of blame me for my mom not being around. That's a hell of a weight to put on a fucking kid. Not that they've done that intentionally.
But and it is a hell of a weight, and there's that element to assess. But there's also, that's the first time, like, we've known that, but that's the first time, as far as I'm aware, that he's acknowledged that.
Yes.
So when do you think he came to that realization, or do you think it's always been there and he's just saying it out loud for the first time, or?
Yeah, that's how I always sort of saw it, was that, like, he'd known that for a little while. I mean, probably not right at the beginning of the show. He was just so much more innocent then. His worries were, they've stopped making my favourite kind of ice cream, you know. He's come a long way since those days.
I showed that first episode, like, last week to Jess, by the way.
Did you? How did that go?
She was not a fan.
Neither were you.
No, I know. No, she reacted in a very similar way, but it was just amusing. I was just watching it back, like, wondering if I just wanted to revisit it to see how I'd feel looking in. And it is different, because obviously I've got a lot more answers now.
Did you say any of that to her? Did you explain that to her?
No. I just said that I would, like, once a month force her to watch an episode.
And what did she think?
She wasn't happy with that plan.
I assume watching no further.
Yeah, hasn't watched any more since. No, but angry, just like, I don't get it. It's pointless. Like, just really angry at the show.
Which is exactly your response.
Exactly how I was. And now we're like analysing it so deeply. But,
did you tell her that though? Did you say that's how you reacted?
I just said, I was just a dick. I was just like, oh, but I know why. I know what they are. It was just a bell end. I didn't help the situation.
You're the worst. You could have created a new fan, and instead you chose to, instead of sharing
this
thing
because my plan is
to
just force that and just watch her naturally become a fan. But obviously there's a danger that the longer you leave between episodes.
Yeah, anyway. that's gonna backfire. Anyway, carry on. So I was saying about him, like, I don't think he knew necessarily back then, but I think he's come to that realization slowly over the time. But I don't think he's voiced it until now.
Do you think it's interesting though? Because I'd like to think he would have that conversation with Connie, but we've not seen it. I'd like to think in some ways that's the conversation they had on the beach. In full disclosure,
yeah, maybe. And you know, in a weird way, I wouldn't be surprised if he'd had the conversation with Sadie. Thinking about him watching the video with Sadie.
Yeah, I like it because I don't view it as he's closer to those three. I think he's close to, with the exception of like Onion, who can't talk back, and Ronaldo, who's just a dick. I
really like the running theme of this podcast is Ronaldo's an arsehole. We hate him.
He's a fucking prick. I like to think that like.
You know he's fictional, right?
all of the like the townspeople, that they are, especially the younger kids, they are his friends.
Yes.
Except Lars, because Lars just wants to be cool so much that it hinders him.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Did you have any other questions, Dan, or is this one of the more natural awkward endings?
No, I'm sure I did. I'm just trying to think. I really like not cool, Earth forever, and then kicks it.
Yeah, and like the cool. Oh yeah, that I will credit to it for that as well. That the showing us the escape pod coming to life through the use of photos was a really interesting and different visual way of showing that, which I thought, kudos to the episode for that. I thought that was a real creative way of showing that moment.
Yes. Yeah, I like that.
Added suspense, it was cool.
The other thing I want to very briefly talk about was the Garnet's sort of response and aggression to the pod before she realizes it's Steven in there. It's such a switch for her based on how she's been recently. She's been quite soft and kind-hearted lately. Do you think they earned that aggression?
I don't know if they earned that aggression or that passion for Earth. We know the Gems all care about Earth, but it was very just in case you're not getting this, we love Earth. I think they earned the aggression because of everything they've been through with that storyline and with Peridot. But it was more the impassioned speech about Earth that felt a bit out of nowhere.
Mm. Did you like that they ungrounded Stephen finally from TV, and that they've kept that up?
That was awesome.
What a great payoff to a joke from a very long time ago from Fusion Cuisine when he first got.
Although technically they should have spoke to Greg first and decided all together, but you know.
Yeah, I suppose they are his guardians right now, though, aren't they? He's in their care more often than not.
I'm only being a dick because it's fair.
Yeah, fair enough. What else? There was some other stuff I wanted to bring up, and I've forgotten, Chris. There was other stuff. There was definitely other stuff. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe I'm being stupid. Oh, some have noted that there's a similarity between the cool kids and the crystal gems, and it's very obvious in those pictures at the end. Buck, they, I don't know actually. They're
saying Buck would be Garnet.
Yeah. Because of the glasses.
Sour cream would be Pearl.
Yep.
And then the girl whose
Jenny.
name I can't remember would be Amethyst.
Yeah. Which, speaking of, actually, she revealed this episode that her and Kiki, the other girl that work at the Fish Stew Pizza, they're not sisters, they're twins, which we did not previously know.
And she's the evil one, which was a bit dark, a bit odd.
I think she just likes the idea that she's the evil one. I think it's just kids, isn't it? Weird sort of shit people say when they're teenagers.
Yeah, I'm not expecting us to see an evil twin plot. Like,
well, that'd be amazing.
That would be weird.
No, I'd be into that. I'm surprised you wouldn't be into that. I would want to be into that. I would be into that.
It sounded oddly pervy the way you were like, I'm surprised you wouldn't be into that. Evil twins. Like, no.
No, I just meant like doing a plot about it. Would that not be interesting to see that? And I don't mean literally evil twin. I mean like.
No. No, because oh yeah, like see an episode about the differences between the twins, fine. But I thought you meant more of a like literal evil twin, and it goes back to the time travel thing.
I was doing it like that as I was phrasing it that way as a bit of a joke, but yeah, I mean like literally a plot about. I'd be into a plot about the two sisters and exploring them more because they're the two characters we haven't seen as much about. We've seen a fair bit about Buck now. Then again, we haven't gotten a huge amount with sour cream either. So there's still plenty of.
No, I'd take her or sour cream. I'd take any of them over Ronaldo.
I'm loving that he's become a punching bag. That makes me so happy. Yeah, you know what? I really didn't feel as strongly about Ronaldo until this rewatch. Truthfully, like I knew that people didn't like him. I knew he was an unpopular character, but I was just like, he serves a purpose.
Haven't you said that about Lars as well? And I'm way more of a Lars fan than I am a Ronaldo fan.
No, I didn't. I like Lars more on this viewing because
No. Other people don't like Lars. You've said to me.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Lars is a very, very sort of divisive character, very much so. Yeah.
Team Lars over Team Ronaldo.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And it's funny with Lars as well because I'm liking him more now on the second viewing because I've now got more context for his slightly more dickish behaviour in the earlier episodes. Does that make sense? The more you get to know Lars, the more you understand why he behaves as he behaves. You then, when you go back to the very earliest episodes, when they're not laying that out quite as clearly, you understand his behaviours more. So you're able to justify more of his dickishness. So I find I like him better more as I rewatch, I should say, the show. Whereas
I assume Ronaldo remains a prick.
Yeah. There's an episode that's relatively recent to where we're recording this, as in it aired within the last sort of 6 months, that is become quite a punching bag episode, and it does revolve around Ronaldo, and it is an episode people really, really don't like.
Can't wait for us to get to that.
I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't hate it. Like, I was surprised at the vitriol, but I get it. Like, I totally get it. It's everything you don't like about Ronaldo compacted into an episode. I'm on board with I understand that. It didn't drive me crazy because it's 10 minutes of my life, but some people felt very passionately about it.
I take it people listening to this will know which episode you're referring to.
Without question. without question, unless they're watching along with us for the very first time. But otherwise, you know exactly what I mean. But anyway, yeah, that's everything for this week. Then we'll leave it there. I couldn't think of the other thing I wanted to say, so we'll leave it. Oh man, I feel like such a burden has been lifted off me now since we did Jailbreak.
In what way?
Oh, I just don't have to worry so much about blowing it.
About blowing what?
The garnet thing.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, because we don't have to. Right, yeah.
Like just that.
Because we're able to, like, everyone knows that. It's not like I'm guessing it and you're having to react as someone who knows but can't say.
Yeah, we all know now. It's fine. We're all on the same page. And
I did think, because obviously you've had that on Fringe, and I did think the other day, like, if we were doing this with a show I've seen and you haven't, how I would go about things and whether I'd do it differently to you.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that one day. We'll find a show and do it and see what happens.
I can't think of what show we would do that with, but yeah.
Yeah, no, neither can I off the top of my head. But one thing that actually I forgot to tell you, Chris, is so basically when you came up with your theory on Alone Together, I took photos of my face, my shock, and my sheer joy, and I've edited them into the podcast. So when that goes up on YouTube, people listening to this will already know that happened because, of course, we're recording this ahead of time. But for you, Chris, because as we're recording this, that episode isn't up. On YouTube, yeah.
Are you going to tell people in the description then that to watch them, because obviously they probably won't often watch the videos, or
well, if they missed it, they missed it. They'll know now and they'll go back and look at it, I suppose. But I edit in the reactions. I've got 2 pictures of my face from when you were saying all that stuff, because you had a big old spiel that brought you around to it, and I knew exactly where it was going from the minute you started talking, and I was like, oh fuck. And then I had like a few minutes while you explained yourself to decide how I was going to handle that, and it was fucking terrifying.
Yeah, because I remember like basically starting with that and being like, I've got a theory.
Yeah, and it was also the episode where we talked about you checking things on Wikipedia. I was like, no, Chris. You're going to seem like such a liar. But there you go.
It was a legitimate theory.
Yeah, it was good. And like I said, you're proving yourself to be quite good at this stuff. You've both in Fringe and in this, you've put together the 2 big twists sort of ahead of time.
Yeah, but I don't. With both of them, as discussed the other week, I refused. Like, there will be other people that figured it out. It was nothing, and probably earlier than I did.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. Anyway, cool. So that's everything for this week. We'll be back next time. Don't know when, but to watch an episode called Say Uncle. So that's.
I think it would be. I think this was a Friday one, so it'll be a Tuesday one.
There you go. So we'll see you on Tuesday. We'll see you next Tuesday. Little bit of blue humour there.
I nearly said it. I nearly said the word. I was like, don't do that.
No, definitely don't do that. I got a notification of the week. One of the old videos I did has been flagged as being not appropriate for some advertisers, so they won't put certain adverts on it anymore. I was like, what's the problem? And it's like in the description when you click on why is this happening from on YouTube's website, it's like if your web video contains like racism or anti-Semitism and I'm like, but it definitely doesn't. And then at the bottom it's like or swearing. I'm like, okay, I must have sworn. Fine, okay, fine.
Yeah, no, I've sworn on this. We will try and stop.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, that is everything for this week. We'll see you next time. As we'll do the names. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll see you next time as you're laughing in the pizza rain and as we discuss Say Uncle.